Hey guys, Nightfox here, and welcome to another weekly Power Rankings. This is week 9 of the Power Rankings. There's been a bit of a mix-up for most part of the list. The bottoms has pretty much stayed pretty consistent, but as we move up the list, you'll see some new shows have either moved up or dropped a couple places. So let's just get into it. So the bottom is the same as it was last week. Blood of War is in the 17th spot. Brave Witch is in the 16th spot, Long Rider's in the 15th spot, and Trickster in the 14th spot. Again, these shows are not very strong in my opinion for this season, whether it be pacing issues, confusion about the plot or where it wants to go, or just the lack of a plot. I just won't recommend you spending your time to watch these shows. I think there are many more shows that you could spend your time watching and would reward you much better for the time you'd be spending. So, the bottom of the middle list is going to be, as always, Magic Estella in the number 13 spot, Izetta the Last Witch in the 12th place spot, Yuri on Ice in the 11th place spot, and Drifters in the 10th place spot. So, Izetta, pretty much the same issues I had last week. The writing has just kind of devolved into nothing impressive at all, really. I'm not sure if they just didn't know how to take the story or if they wrote themselves into a corner or whatever, but just some of the writing choices that they've made have really turned me off in this show. And it just, for me personally, has taken a huge nosedive. So there's one more episode left. I'm not really expecting anything. I think really at this point, unless they come out with a big surprise for the last episode, I can see two major ways that they could end it, and either way I think would really be unsatisfactory. So I'm not really looking forward to the end of this show. Probably one of my biggest disappointments of the season so far. So in the 10th place spot, we have Yuri on Ice. Again, much like what I was saying last week, really focusing on the relationship between Victor and Yuri. I can appreciate what they're doing and the time they're spending on developing this relationship and what they're trying to do. I can completely appreciate it, but just for me, it's not my cup of tea. It wouldn't be a show that I would watch if I had known that it was going to be like this. I picked it up because I thought it was going to be more of a sports anime and really focus on the ice skating and Yuri's personal growth. Didn't turn out that way, but I can still appreciate what they're doing between the relationship between Yuri and Victor. So it's a decent show. I would say you should check it out. Watch a couple episodes and decide for yourself. Just personally for me, wouldn't be a show that I would enjoy watching in my free time. And then we have Drifters in the number 10 spot. It was a pretty good episode this week. We moved forward a little bit. We got a couple more plot points to come along. But again, I think just what's been happening throughout the majority of this show is just kind of slow pacing. I feel like this show's really taking its time and not moving very, very quickly. And I'm interested to see how they're planning on ending this season at least. Again, don't know how many episodes it's going to be, so I'm not sure if it's going to be more than one core, but I'm interested to see how they end this core because they have so many plot lines out there and so many threads out there and so many characters that we just haven't gone back to in a while. I'll be interested to see how they tie it all up to the end of this season. But yeah, I don't want to say too much without knowing how many episodes that this season's going to have. But right now, the only thing I can really say is slow pacing, but it is enjoyable. So I think it's a fun watch. All right, so the top half of the middle, we have Bungo Stray Dogs in the ninth place spot, Non Baka in the 8th place spot, March Comes In Like a Lion in the 7th place spot, and Babuki Baranki Season 2 in the 6th place spot. So Bungo Stray Dogs this week was kind of a mixed bag. I liked what they did at the latter half of the episode. I appreciated they had a fight scene which I thought was really interesting, really action packed as well. We got to see the leader of the guild and what his power really is, which I thought was really interesting. I think his power is a really nice twist on what you normally would think a power would be. So I liked all of that. Again, I don't know. It's just something about the main characters. Really, Atsushi, he just rubs me the wrong way. And again, I don't know. I don't know what it was about this episode. I just didn't really I didn't think it was a spectacular episode. I was kind of just meh on it. I mean, the ending was nice, but I felt like the first half of the episode wasn't really good. This has been another one of those shows that I'm disappointed in. It was and it was just another probably disappointment of this season for me personally. But we still have another episode, so we'll see how it wraps up, and maybe it'll redeem itself. But we'll have to wait and see. But for now, ninth place spot is where it's going to sit. So we have Nanbaka in the 8th place spot. This week we return to more of the crazy antics in the prison, and it was good, back to the normal jokes and such. But just compared to the other shows this season, it wasn't an impactful episode. It wasn't like season ending kind of episode, which they do have 2 cores, so maybe we're gonna miss that this season because it's moving into the next core. So there may not be that impactful episode this season, and they may save it for the next core. So overall, though, still a good episode, still a great show. I'd highly recommend you checking it out. I think it's mainly a comedy show, but as you see, it gets into a bunch of different genres and does them well. So still a really solid show for this season. So in the number 7 spot, March Comes In Like a Lion. Down a couple spots this week. Again, just the fact that it wasn't really an impactful episode. The cause of that, again, probably much like Nanbaka, it has 23 episodes. So there are bound to be a few slow episodes. Not all of them are going to be high intensity, high impact episodes. And I think this week just was a regular episode, nothing special, nothing high impact. But if you've been watching the weekly power rankings, you know that this show has been very strong this whole season. I'm really enjoying it. So just because it has one week where it's dropped a little bit lower than you normally would see it, don't be scared or frightened or anything. It's still a very strong show. I just feel like this is just one of the weeks where it didn't deliver a high intensity, if you want to call it that, in the terms of March Comes In Like a Lion, high intensity episode. But still a fantastic show. I'd still highly recommend this show for sure. And then number 6th place spot, we have Buki Buranki Season 2. So this week was a fantastic episode for this show. Really hyped the whole way through. And it pretty much closed up the show, really. Most of the story points were taken care of. Everything seemed to be finished and the book would be closed. But we still have another episode next week. This is only episode 11, and apparently it's supposed to be 12 episodes. So I'm interested to see what they do next week, because it seemed to me like the story is done and everything's good, but we'll see what they do next week. But overall, this week was a fantastic episode. A lot of action, a lot of like high points in this show, a lot of plot twists revealed for the final confrontation, and it was just a wild action ride, and it was really enjoyable the whole way through. And I really enjoyed the payoff that they gave us at the end here. Like I said, most of this season, pretty consistent show. Didn't really knock my socks off or disappoint me, but this episode, they really went all out for the last episode, and it was really a really enjoyable episode. So the top 5. In the 5th place spot, we have Kaijo. Good episode this week again, staying within the tournament style battle theme. Great episode this week. A lot of laughs, a lot of just more ridiculousness hyped on. So again, doing its battle shonen thing well, and with the Kaijo flair of added ridiculousness. So yeah, can't say anything too bad. Great show. I'd suggest if you like the battle shonen genre, you check it out. 4th place spot is Ajin Season 2. Pretty good episode this week. We saw some character development. I don't want to say growth, I'll say development instead. It was a little disappointing, but at the same time still super good. Now we do have 2 episodes that are going to be airing simultaneously next week, one after the other, so it's going to be a big finale, hour-long thing next week. So I'm expecting that there wasn't a whole lot of action in this episode, a lot more building up for the big explosive finale next week. And if I had to say anything about the show, is that I would say that sometimes I feel like they spend too much time building things up and not enough time with the action of the show. I just feel like a couple times this season I've been like, oh, they're just building up. Oh, they're building up. Oh, they're building up. And then while the action scenes and the action episodes are fantastic, and really they are worth the weight of those build-up episodes, I feel like sometimes they could have just trimmed up a little bit off of it to just kind of speed it up a little bit. But overall, still a great show. I'm really excited for the finale next week. So again, I would highly suggest that you check out this show. So in the third place spot, we have Sanji Euphonium Season 2. Really good episode this week. We got a really nice conversation between Kumiko and Asuka. And we really just kind of got real deep into characters, traits, and personalities and inner workings almost, I want to say, in a sense. So it was just really introspective, kind of, I'll say like introspective episode, because while it wasn't really the characters looking into themselves, it was other characters looking into other characters and really picking them apart and why they act the way they act. So I thought it was a great episode, really some emotional scenes, and I'm really looking forward to how this show ends because it seems like we've pretty much tied up all the conflicts and now we're just going to go into the last final push. So in the number 2 spot, the show that you probably have noticed has been missing so far, and that is Occultic 9. This week's episode was great. A lot of questions have been answered. A lot of questions still have not been answered, though, so they're keeping you going. But yeah, a lot of things were answered. A lot of more questions were thrown at us as well. We got some new, I'll say characters, because I'm not really sure if they are new. There were a lot of hints that were dropped in the episode, which leads me to believe that some of my theories for this show have been correct and they are coming true. But yeah, I mean, I'm just on board for this wild ride. Again, as I say every week, still a little concerned about the time travel issue, but I'm becoming less concerned just from how I'm seeing the show develop and the routes they're taking to move this show forward plot-wise. So I'm not really too worried about that right now. I'm just really enjoying the ride that I'm being taken on, and I would highly suggest you watch this show. Give it a couple episodes because it's going to take a couple episodes to ramp up. Don't be too discouraged by the first episode. It gets more streamlined and more coherent after that. So I would just highly suggest you watch this show. And if it keeps going like this, it could be the number 1 show this season. The other show that will be competing for that number 1 spot, though, will be Magical Girl Raising Project, which has taken, again, the number 1 spot this week. I think this is the 3rd week in a row that it's snagged that spot. And that's just because 2 weeks ago, the show put the pedal to the metal, and it really hasn't stepped off the gas. We're still flying down high speeds, man. The show's not stopping. It doesn't take a break. It's action. It's brutal. It's so amazing. We're seeing some more character development even this late in the season. We're really seeing character motivations. And, I just don't know, honestly, what's going to happen. Who's going to make it out of this show, honestly. There's no telling what's going to happen, and that's what I love about this show. You never know who's going to get an altercation, who's going to make it out alive, and all of that. So if you enjoy that magical girl genre with a little bit of a twist, highly, highly suggest this show. It'll be well worth your time, and I think you'll greatly enjoy it. That's the power rankings for this week. If you agree or disagree with any of my rankings, feel free to leave me a comment in the section down below. If you want to stay up to date and be notified when new videos are dropped, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified when new videos come out. And until then, I'll see you guys next time.